It's the last one for 2025, and the theme is freedom. Because when you start to look at, the fact that it's a marker, we got our own calendar and stuff, but we're still here in the Gregorian calendar, dispersed in the West, and we have to do our best under the circumstances until we get, back our own utopia.
Hello,
Oh, you're through. Rahul back caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question, please?
my name is Kerith from Jamaica.
Yes. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Good. What's your question?
Well, I want to start off by asking, overall, is the human brain responsible for the way how we feel?
The thing about that question is that you have more than one brain. Most may not be aware that, you have the brain that is inside your skull, but you also have the brain that most refer to as the gut, which is connected to your heart and your major organs. So the brain itself is tissue, but it's a, it's like the central processing unit, where processing takes place, because the brain itself is connected to what we refer to as the mental reservoir, where all thoughts reside or come from and to. And then you have a whole system, well, a number of different systems that interact with the brain. So, for example, your nervous system, which is related to the biggest organ you have, which is your skin. All right. You have many intricate systems, like I mentioned the nervous system already. You've got the skeletal system. You've got, the lymphatic system. You've got many systems, the digestive system, and they all work in conjunction because they process everything that you come in contact with. If it's food that goes through your system, it's processed. The lungs, the liver, they get involved, the intestines, and impulses are sent as electrical signals through the networks, the many networks in your body, to relay messages to the brain. And then the brain, where it's then where you have like your networks of your what we call your neurons. There's a neural network where messages are sent and processed, and that interacts with the mind, the mental, right? So really, it's the mental, not your brain, that you would, in terms of what you're saying, would utilize to make decisions. And your life can be defined as a collection of your entire decisions that you've ever made from, birth to now. And that's why decision making ties to what we call your will, or what people say your will, where you decide either to do something or not to do it. And the decisions and the outcomes from your decisions then relate to your actions. And the multiple actions you've taken over your life will determine where you are today. You see, and unfortunately, many people have been, for lack of a better word, been misled, misinformed, so that they don't realize they're not actually in control of the decisions they're making, because you're being influenced by others to make decisions that are not probably for your best interest until you come across. So for example, when you're born into a family, and depending on what your parents have been programmed with or the way they've lived their life, they may pass that on to you, and then that might, have a choice in terms of like the education you get, what religion you might follow, and so on and so on and so forth, what schools you go to and the society you live in, until you get to a point where you're old enough to either challenge some of these decisions, or you decide to go and search and look for yourself. Thus, you then get to the point where you may have to start reprogramming everything you've been believing or thinking throughout your life. So this is why
Oh,
wu-sabat is here to help you make those choices. Go ahead.
okay. So, all right. Let me put things in this way. Let's say there was a alien being, and their anatomy and their brain biology is different from ours. Could that enable them or make them perceive life in a vastly different way than how human beings perceive things? And
Absolutely.
also maybe their brain or their mental state causes them to feel more enlightened and more heightened in life, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you're right. This is where, going back to what you were saying about the brain, most humans are not using even up to 10% of the capacity of their brain power. And some extraterrestrials are able to use much more. Some extraterrestrials do not have emotions, so they don't feel or react to things in the way that humans that have emotions do. Some extraterrestrials don't have digestive systems like we do, so they don't. The nutrition that they take doesn't go through the same process as we do. However, we are actually also extraterrestrials. It's just that we have been maimed to the point where many are not, aware of their innate abilities. And that's why we teach about the higher senses that most have not really been taught about as having those higher senses. You see, so you're right. Yeah, different extraterrestrials have. Some extraterrestrials are not very clever either because they have like degenerate, like we mentioned the Deros, for example. These are beings that are degenerates, and then you have beings, both humans and extraterrestrials that are evolving. And I did a class last couple of weeks, I think, called Ascending and Descending Beings. So some beings are going downwards. Even humans, a lot of us have stopped using our brain because we've been introduced to technology. Started off with things like calculators, because when you were growing up, those who remember, you didn't have calculators. You had to do arithmetic with your mind. But the introduction of calculators meant that the generations that came up using calculators have basically reduced that ability to be able to do arithmetic mentally. You see, so after generations and generations, you don't exercise that aspect of your brain. And it's the same when we start to look at, numbers. Like, you used to memorize numbers and call people based on their telephone numbers that you've memorized. Now it's all stored on the devices. So most people, if they lose their device, they won't remember anybody's number to call them if they were in an emergency situation. So you have beings that are degenerating, like even the clothes you wear and the fashions and things like that. Like when you see, young, predominantly what we call black boys wearing their trousers sagging. That eventually, the way nature works is it will pull their waist down and they start to walk and slump in a particular way, going back to how, if you look at, how certain apes walk, so certain things are done by design. If you don't utilize something over a period of time, your little toes and your little fingers, especially the toe, if you don't use it, after a while it will have no use. You see, so if you don't use it, you lose it. You should have heard that phrase at some point. So what we're basically saying is you've got people that are elevating because they're using their mind, they're exercising, they're studying, they're reading, they're researching, and improving their memory and improving their knowledge. And you have others that are just going the other way. And this is the same with all beings. There's ascending and descending beings. So you're either elevating or you're degenerating, you see. So it's very important to upgrade ourselves by way of the knowledge, because the knowledge we're getting is from the most intelligent and supreme being extraterrestrial on the planet right now. And that's why, you know, he's teaching us so we can actually elevate and become supreme beings as well. So yes, you're right.
Can I ask you this as well? So like,
Sure, go ahead.
let's say that there are thoughts in my mind that are bothering me. Can my mind be altered and reprogrammed for these things not to bother me anymore in the slightest bit, even if I still remember them?
Yes, this is control. It's about control. So you can control the thoughts, because a lot of the time people, if it's like when you hear us say, don't look at the TV, but look into it. That what that means is that a lot of the time people that are not aware of the programming that's taking place, because you even hear the word TV program, and when you look at how the word program is spelt, is program, PROGRMME, right? Which you literally say program me, but it's spelled as program. So when I say just look into it, like analyze what you're watching, process and reason, and see what's being projected to you by way of light images that are going into your brain, into your mind, because your eye is receiving the light. Okay, your retina is actually picking.
Can I ask you this as well?
Go ahead.
You said I could be the one to reprogram my own mind.
Yes.
But I'm asking in the sense that, can another being, not me, but another being, program my mind?
Yes, that's what I was just explaining.
For me not to be bothered by things that used to bother me.
Right. So let's make that a practical example. Partner Babylon is an extraterrestrial being that is programming our minds with the scrolls and the information that is coming from outformation to information inside the planet, inside your mind. And it's gonna change the way you think. Because if you were once under the program of religion, that's what people are doing. They're running different. It's like if you think of yourself as a device, like a computer system, right? You would be like the hardware, but you also need the software, which is what makes the device functional and able to carry out many human activities, right? So people are running different programs, like they're running the Christian program, the religion Christian program. They're running the Hebrew program, or the different denominations of religions. They're running the Hebrew Israelite program. And it's a program that...
Yes, but what about this? Like,
let me finish, please. So I'm saying, when you start to read the scrolls, it puts things in its proper place by way of facts and not based on belief. So you're now reprogramming yourself to behave and act differently, and you're not going to be afraid of the things that you were taught in religion, for example, such as being punished and going to hell, etc., etc. That program will no longer work on you. Go ahead.
So I'm just using this as an example. In the Bible, the human race, they used to speak one language. But the Bible says that the Lord reprogrammed a lot of people and instantly caused them to start speaking different languages. Is that the type of thing that's real? Like, other beings can reprogram you so that your mind starts doing things differently that it's never done before?
Well, when we look at the actual facts with that situation, as we've broken down before and have a video that goes into it, it's talking about extraterrestrials known as the Anunnaki and specific beings. I gave the names when we did the Let My Words Be Known, their specific names, who many know as Enki and Enlil and the family of Anu, okay? That particular story you're referring to is that before they were scattered, right? This is Genesis 11 for those who are not familiar with it. They were being programmed by the beings on Nibiru, right? These Anunnaki beings that were sending frequencies to have you think and have certain thoughts and to behave and follow their instructions, so they had control over the people. And so when the being known as Nimrod, Sargon, right, he was the son of Cush. The language that was being spoken, one language that was being spoken all over the world, was our language that we're teaching and speaking today, known as Mispatia. So Nimrod went over to Cush from Mesopotamia, from where the Anunnaki were controlling, which is known as Shinar, became known as Sumer, or the, what we call Mesopotamia today. He went back to Africa to his father Cush and learned this language. And then when he came back, he broke the spell on his people that was being, the programming that was being used on them to control them by the Anunnaki. He came and taught them how to speak Nuapic. And that basically was able to block the frequencies that were being telepathically, sent down to control them. So that's what we're saying, that then the beings were like, they couldn't work out what is going on. So they came down, and that's when they came and dispersed them and confound them and broke them up, so that they were no longer able to work together, because they realized that they were one mind. They were able to build and do anything that they put their mind together. So that's what's happening today. Most people have been misprogrammed with different dialects and translations, or shall I say mistranslations, from those same ancient cuneiform tablets that became watered down different versions of religions throughout the different, what they call Semitic languages, to the Latin, to the Greek, to the what you're calling English today, to the point where people are confused when they're studying or trying to read these books, and these books of confusion, Babel, that's what it was called. The area they were in was known as Babel. And today you have New Babylon, which is where we call Amorites, or the new Adamites today, you see. So in order for you to break that spell of religion, you have to go back to the original language, and the way you do it is trace it backwards. So when you're reading an English translation of how many different versions, right? Most people are using a King James version today of 1611 AD, but there were many versions before that. And even though they're reading it in English, they're not able to see the mistakes unless you go back to the Greek, if you're looking at the New Testament, or go back to the Hebrew, or go back to the Arabic, or go back to the languages before that lead you back to these cuneiform tablets that go all the way back to the original language, Mispatia, or what we know as Napata, Nuapic, was spoken around the area of Meroe. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. We're breaking the spell and getting you off that telepathic influence, or the thoughts that you're having based on the books that you've been programmed with, you see. So that's the same thing happening today. And if you put the story into actual facts, it becomes very clear. Do you follow?
Yes.
Okay, Wawe.
Can I ask one last question?
Sure.
Okay, I asked this question already, but I wasn't really clear about how I asked last time. So I just want to say that as a 9-ether being, if I have sexual relations with a 6-ether being, my abilities or my powers will be diminished. Am I right?
Yes.
Can you explain this process? What causes it?
Okay. Because you are higher and they're lower, they're going to draw from you. So you're giving off part of your energy to them because they're pulling from you. You follow? So
Yes.
so basically one of your what we would refer to as energy centers or chakras you share with them, and they will basically be able to rise up. I mean, it's simple to look at it like this. If you have two containers, like a cup, right? Two cups, and yours is fuller and theirs is lower, so you can empty some of yours into theirs, but they can't empty any into you because yours is already full. You can't. There's no more room to put anything in. But if they're lower, they're missing three, right? So they're on 6, you're on 9, so they're missing 3. If 9 is the highest number, because you go from, as you know, we say from 1 to 9. 9 is the highest. So if your 9 is full, 6 has still got room to grow, which would be 7, 8, 9. So if they borrow from you, they can move up 1. Let's say they took 1 from you, they will become 7 as opposed to 6. And you will become 8 because you've now given one of yours over to them. I'm just trying to make it in a way that is very simple to understand or comprehend.
Yes.
All right.
So over time, can I get back one of my energies that I give to them?
Yes, if you again a lack of a better word, if you detach from them and then go to a being that is gonna give or share more with you, then yes, you will. But it depends. When we're saying it in a very simplistic manner, but there are things that can affect you. Let's say you have to look at things, say genetically. You have to look at things from many aspects. So sometimes damage can be done that is irreparable. So it all depends on what we're talking about. But in terms of when we're looking at just like energies, exchange of fluids and stuff like that, there are different impacts that will come from whatever that union brings. But at the same time, if you're talking about it from a say a partnership relationship aspect, you have to you choose who you'd like to be with, and the consequences of that decision is going to be down to you. And if you're already together, then that's what it is. There's no, like, we don't dictate or tell people like who to be with or who not to be with. We just know by way of actual facts and by way of genetics and by way of the science of things what is best for you as a 9 ether being.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome. Okay, as I was saying, you can call in like the brother just did and ask your questions live. The theme is freedom, freedom, freedom. We've just come out of the time where people are supposed to be all sharing and giving. We hope that you didn't just spend it all on useless presents. I'm sure you bought some useful ones too, but if you could spend that a little bit on the Freedom for the Master Teacher track, which is the link is there. You can support us, or buy us a coffee as we're building a new studio. Got another caller?
Voice note.
Okay, voice note. Let's go for it.
Rahubat Saken. My
Rahman.
name is Percy from South Africa. My question today is about the two brothers, Enlil and Enki, asking that one was bad and one was good. So if you look at the things the way they're happening today in negativity and in positivity, will you say the spirit of those two brothers is or are still roaming today on this physical world? That's why we have negativity and positivity. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not just from them. And what we tend to do is we mix up agreeable and disagreeable with positivity and negativity. To a being's nature, if their nature is set a certain way, then that's their nature. And what's happened with the two brothers is the conflicts, as you know, and in relation to, yes, what you're saying is that throughout time, that conflict has passed on to different brothers over time. So when you look at the Enki and Enlil story, you can kind of relate it to the Ptah and Bess story. You can relate it to the Cain and Abel story, the Esau and Jacob story, and you can bring it all to today when you read the Golden Children Patarak, the way, where you're dealing with golden children, and then you have fire children, and then you have 6 ether, adverse to 9 ether, and because we're living in a 3-dimensional world which deals with polarity, you're looking at the fact that got destabilized. But there was a time where that wasn't the case. This is why when you look at when we started in a new cycle, because we are now in what we're calling a project 24, right? So you have our planet Earth at a point was grown or started again, and it was designed to grow 24 points. So when you're counting from the sun, you'll have, we are the 3rd planet, so we're known as sector 3. And if you count from the other side, away from the sun, we're number 6, so we're referred to as zone 6. But the planet itself grew out to 24 points, and we're referred to as project 24. This is why the number 24 is so significant, because people will often ask us, why do we say that you start off with 24 to 24,000 chances of your reincarnation to perfect yourself? Well, the reason that 24 is the beginning of that cycle. So it's like saying 24 hours in one day. You see, so that first day of that new 24,000 year cycle, because prior to that, the planet circumference was not 24,000, it was actually 48,000. So from that point, everything was based around that 24. So each cycle of 24,000 years, it renews, and then it starts again and again and again, which is why we have, like I said, 24 hours in the day. The circumference of the planet is 24,000 miles. The human genome has been deciphered to be 24,000 genomes. The amount of cells you have are 24 trillion. Everything revolves around 24, right? Because this was a new beginning or a new cycle. excuse me. So initially you had the planet Earth where it was just a green zone, meaning it was just positive, right? But then you had beings that came and they weren't supposed to come here, but they came by, like how today, like people are running from war zones, or, they're refugees, and they say immigrants are coming in. They're finding ways to come in. It was the same. They came in and they were quarantined into what we call a red zone, known as Zupu, whilst the green zone was referred to as Nupu. But over time, the beings that were in the red zone, they escaped and raped and basically mixed with the beings in the green zone. And this is how the two sides of the conflicts and everything started, and the destabilization of that peace. We have an actual fact called existence, how and why, that will go into that a little bit more. And it was the same where you had the blood types on the planet were all positive initially, before they became, the A, B, O, and then they were all positive. And then with the intervention of these beings, excuse me, they brought in the RH factor and then the negative. So now you have mixtures of everybody, and O now is like the most commonly used one, which is more able to be used by many people. But yeah, so yeah, you're right, that energy, and it ties into today where you now have different political parties. For example, you'll always have opponents. In sports, you have two teams playing against each other. You have Democrats against Republicans, or Labour versus Conservative, and it just goes on and on and on into, like I said, different football matches with like Arsenal against Man United or whatever. So that competition is something that, is that spirit of the two opposing forces. But what has happened is that one is dominating over the other for the last 6,000 years, because we were predominantly being ruled by 6 ether forces. And now that's changing because of the new cycle again. The cycle of 24,000 years has started again from the year 2000 AD. So now we're reversing all of that. But the thing is, the opposing, the pushing and pulling forces, the disagreeable are trying to win souls, or steal souls, and teach you the wrong information and have you trapped. This is kind of where I was going when I was saying about the freedom. The freedom theme is that we've been fighting for the master's freedom for over 20 years. But prior to that 20 years, you're going back to the last 400 years where it was intensified. And that 400 years was from the 1600s, with what they refer to as the slave trade, we call the slave kidnapping. You see, because you had many slave kidnappings, but the 1600, was the last one that was really horrific. And that brought us to the year 2000, where you talk about the 400-year bondage, which a lot of people mistake with the bondage of the Israelites, which is 430 years, not 400 years. But even then, going back after that 400 years, you're going back 6,000 years to the beginning of this moon cycle. The last 6,000 years of the last 24,000 years, which was a moon cycle. You see, because when you talk in thousands, it sounds like a long time ago, but when you break each one of those 6,000 into a 1,000-year period and count backwards, because we're in the Gregorian calendar in 2025 AD. So 2,000 years prior to that will be 1 AD, right? Or 2025. And that would be one coming this way. But then going backwards, you're going to go back 4,000 years or 4004 BC or BCE. That's the beginning of that moon cycle, which has come to an end in the year 2000. So everything is changing, but you have to be in the mindset of raising your vibration and your consciousness to not be pulled down with the destruction and the dissipation of six ether forces, you see. So yeah, freedom has been a long time, and as we're moving into 2026, it's a mark for you to start again. It's like, now I'm gonna, stop making the excuses. I'm gonna start learning my language. We've got the language course for you. I'm gonna start reading the scrolls. I'm gonna give up certain things that are holding me back in terms of my diet. I'm gonna start, exercising. I'm gonna start a new business. It's a good way to say, look, the fight has been going on for a very long time. Are you a part of the problem? Are you going to be a part of the solution? You see, so it's a good mark. This last show of Ask Us Anything for 2025 is one that we're saying to you, get ready, because as we count down from 2026 to 2030, things are going to get, we've already did the video telling you that. So no more messing around. It's time for freedom, time for Partner Babylon to come out. It's time for you to fix up, get yourself ready and in order to elevate and raise your vibration and your consciousness. Big shout out to Joshua. He escaped, isn't it, that accident. And it's amazing because in wu-sabat, we teach you that, and I'm saying that because obviously 2 points I want to make with that. He just won the fight, got a whole heap of money. I think it was like, 75 mil or something? It's crazy. We're gonna fact check that. Now, then he goes off, obviously, back home to the motherland, to chill out with his family, and then gets into this car accident. 2 people, unfortunately, were unalived, and he wasn't. The 2 points I want to make is, this is what I'm saying, like, it doesn't matter about how much money you have or whatever, because he may not have made it to 2026. You see? Even with all the millions, you see what I'm saying? So it's not really about the money. But the thing is, wu-sabat will break it down and say, people will say, thank God that he survived. And we're obviously, we appreciate love that he's still with us. But people won't say, who's responsible for the other 2? If God could save all of them, why didn't he? You see, this is how wu-sabat gets you to think. It's not just, we deal with natural nature, that things happen. And it's not because God decided to unalive 2 and save 1. But that's just to show you how you got to think and ask these questions, because religion doesn't really answer those types of questions. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you got 1 million, 1 billion, we're all still in a position where we don't know tomorrow what can happen. We're here passing through, and you've got to prepare yourself for the next journey, the next realm, you see. So yeah, shout out to him and condolences to the family and the ones and their loved ones who lost, the 2 other people. All right, let's look at the questions in the chat. What is baptism? Do wu-sabat culture participate in this practice of baptism? And this is from Grace and Joki 8123. Great question. There is a book, an actual fact by the master teacher, called The Proof by Way of Parnabab Yanun. That's such an interesting book to get hold of, because what it explains is baptism, or these various terms that are used, like shahada in Islam. These are rituals that you're if you're not aware of what's going on, you're being put in a situation where you're giving away your soul or your allegiance to these religions and the deities over them. You see, so because these these religions relying on the jinns or giving your allegiance to these religions and the deities over them, the extraterrestrials over them, their whole thing is to collect your soul, but it won't be collected until the time when you're crossing over. So they basically go through this ritual of dipping you in water or getting you to change and say, utter words and literally say, I'm giving myself over to these beings. And this is why all of these religious organizations will start off with some type of being born again, or a baptism or a shahada or something, where you're now renouncing yourself and giving it over to them. I know the next question is going to be, I did it, I didn't know, what can happen now? Yep, that's why wu-sabat is here, to wake you up so you can break that bond and untangle yourself and start to live and have control over your own soul, start to reprogram yourself. Okay, so wu-sabat doesn't participate in that practice that you're calling baptism in that way, but you do get a rebirth, which is, renouncing those rituals and starting to walk in the way of wu-sabat and live in the culture. Okay, Grace again, kindly, I would like to understand this once and for all. Is Anu same with the Anunnaki? Again, is Anunnaki disagreeable beings or agreeable beings? Yeah, when you say is Anu same with the Anunnaki, the word comes from his name because, excuse me. For those just joining, I was just saying that I've got a little bit of a sore throat. So I'm trying my best to speak clearly and project, but I am a little bit bunged up. But yes, so the word Anu, Na-Ki, is a title and a description of an incident that took place with the being that was in the seat or the position known as Anu, the Most High. Na is referring to the number 50, and Ki is the name of the planet Earth. At one point it was called Ki. It's known by many names, Ad, Terra, Tatmare. It was known by many names, but at that point, Ki. So when you're saying Anu Na Ki, you're literally describing what took place when Anu, the most high deity of the Sumerians or the Anunnaki, sent beings to the planet in a craft carrying 50 passengers. And when you say agreeable, disagreeable, they're disagreeable and agreeable. They're actually different species of Anunnaki, all right? So as we say, his two sons were Enki and Enlil. One would be seen, and when you say agreeable and disagreeable, it also depends on who is saying something is agreeable and disagreeable. Because what people tend to say good or bad, but good and bad is subjective. So Enki can be looked at as agreeable to some beings and Enlil as disagreeable. And in different situations, it's the other way around. That's why when you're reading the Bible and these different beings, these different characters, you don't know when it's changing from one to the other, where someone might say, don't eat flesh. And then later on, someone else is going to say, you can eat flesh, because the one who doesn't eat flesh is going to say don't eat flesh, and the one who does is going to say it's okay to eat flesh. So Anunnaki are different species, both agreeable and disagreeable. It's like saying, are all human beings good and bad? Yes, within each being you have what you call agreeable and disagreeable, but collectively you can have a group of people that are agreeable, and then you can have a group of people that are disagreeable too, amongst the different races and the different species. And then you can see how you measure who's more disagreeable is by way of their actions. So yeah, the different species of Anunnaki, you have like the Anakim, you have the Anunnaki, you have the Ushamgal, you have different species of Anunnaki. So depending on the situation and what was going on, is Anunnaki disagreeable beings, or they're both. But today you have Enlil, all the beings that align with Enlil, they're the ones that are causing the most chaos on the planet, and they give allegiance to Enlil. We've explained many times that those who have the L at the end of their names are loyal to Enlil, and those who have the Ja at the end of their names, biblically this is, they are loyal to Enki. The two put together, this is why when you're reading the Bible in English, or even sometimes in the Hebrew, you can get confused, because you might see names like Yahweh, and you think, even though that can be an attribute to one person, Yah is agreeable, Way is disagreeable. So put together is agreeable and disagreeable. Or you say that Elohim, or you might say cherubim and seraphim. You might, there are different descriptions for agreeable and disagreeable. So depending on who and what situation we're looking at is what will determine who's agreeable and disagreeable. So like on the planet today, you have beings that are doing very disagreeable things. When we say disagreeable things, we're talking about wars, we're talking about a lot of the chaos, the disagreeable things on the planet that nobody really wants. Poisoning the waters, we can go on and on, killing the animals, bloodshed. Who's doing that, you see? So yeah, I hope that's helped you, Grace. Kindly, I would like to overstand this once and for all. Is Anu same with the Anunnaki? Yes. Again, is Anunnaki disagreeable beings or agreeable beings? They're both. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, I was saying, did you get us our presents? Did you buy us a couple? I don't drink coffee, but I think King likes to say coffee, so we can get this studio. We've got so much more content to give you guys. We like, by way of Partner Babylon, of course, just is an open tap, flowing with affirmation, and we got so much more. We're gonna answer all your questions to do with these monotheistic religions, because that's what Pops did. That's what a master teacher, Partner Babylon, did. He got to a point where he answered all the questions about, we've been doing this now for what, 2 years, consistently answering your questions. One more year and you guys would have, that's a university degree. You see, you're almost graduated. So we're gonna move on to the next level of information. And so we're gonna give you all the answers to your religious. So Pops did, he basically he ended up with the 360 questions to ask everyone, Muslims, Jews, Christians. Then he came up with the Christism and the degree of Christism, the degree of Mohammedism, and the degree of Mosesism. Those three big, thick degree books, it's like you would be far more qualified than anyone who's gone to theology school, anyone who's gone to study something for 3 years. That's a degree in itself. No coincidence they call the degree of Mosesism, the degree of Christism, and the degree of Mohammedism. That covers everything you would ever want to know about the three monotheistic religions that have had you trapped mentally for so long. And then we move on to what we call the hereafter doctrine, which deals with actual facts, Patarak, Pataruk, and what? Master secrets. All right, so those of you who have been studying, watching all the videos, that's your way to graduate. Study every video, read every book, ask all your questions, and you're going to be in a position where you can answer any question asked to you, put to you on those monotheistic religions and much more, because the master teacher doesn't only deal with religion. He goes into history, he goes into science, he answers questions on anything. So that makes you much more equipped to deal with anyone on the planet. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next question. Any information on ancient Kenya? That's so broad. It's like saying any information on ancient England. But Kenya is significant because, you know, you're dealing with indigenous people and yeah, so I mean, you're gonna have to be a little bit more specific, but it's like most of the, when you look at where, you know, life started from, originally when the landmass was one, you know, you had the center, and then you had, you know, beings that evolved from, you know, Egg Island, and the land was known as Ganawa. But you start to look at Monodapa in South Africa, Kenya. These are places where they have found a lot of the remains or the bones of, you know, our ancestors, and they're able to say, you know, life began in Africa. Most of, in fact, all of the major ones have been found from Lucy. We've got the list in our Fast Track, the Spiritual and Conscious Journey book. So yeah, it's a bit broad to say any information on ancient Kenya. Ancient can be, to someone, ancient is like 100 years. To someone else, 1,000 years. To someone else, it's 1,000,000 years, you know, and it can go on and on. Okay, let's see. What's the next question? Yeah, last storyteller, I'm with you 100%. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's been a long time, and anything that's worth anything, you know, we're at the end, at that finishing line. People wish things can happen overnight, but if you're going to run a long race, like 800 meters, you got to pace yourself. And it's not the beginning of the race, it's those that finish. So if you're going through a situation, I know it can get to a point where you're like, man, wu-sabat just comes. Like, if you're vibrating on that vibration, it's that spirit of truth. It just comes, and sometimes it takes you by surprise. Your DNA explosions just goes, and you're like, you know what? I'm ready. You know, it's not going to be everyone that's going to be ready at the same time, because as the master put it, not all flowers will blossom at the same time, but it is time. You know, the changes you may have to make. That's why I say use this mark of, we're going into a new year. Use that mark, you know. Sometimes you have to shed. You have to lose friends. You have to lose people that are not on your vibration. And it's cool. I'm not saying that you have to create any conflicts or anything, but sometimes you just go cut. I'm not going to that club no more. I'm not smoking that no more. I'm not drinking that no more. I'm not going to be in that relationship no more. I'm going to make a change. So you have to shed. You have to shed to, you know, like a phoenix. You have to evolve. You know, like a snake, it sheds its skin. You have to evolve. If you don't want to be stuck in the loop doing the same things you've been doing for so long, this is why people have New Year's resolutions, because they're like, you know what, I need to make that change. You know, I need to come over to OSM Vision, subscribe, start studying, start reading the scrolls. I need to go to the classes. I need to go and be a part of the community. I need to go to the bookstores. The spirit of truth has got me, you know, and there's nothing more worthwhile living than truth, you know, and sometimes it can be bitter because you have to change a lot of the old ways. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Any information? Okay, cover that. How Dr. York break the seventh seal in 1970 if he wasn't Jesus? Okay, good question from Amun Green. Where did it say that Jesus was going to break the seventh seal? This is what's happening. This is why I was saying before that people that don't have a full understanding of the scriptures, they attribute things to different people, right? It didn't say Jesus would break the seventh seal. If you read that scroll properly, all right, read the book of Revelations and read Daniel, because Daniel was the one that was told to put a seal and to wait until that time. And the angel that was to break the seal is the angel Michael. Okay. And so yeah, you say how did Dr. York break the seventh seal in 1970 if he wasn't Jesus? The answer is simple. Where does it say it was Jesus that was going to break the seal? It was the angel Michael, and he broke it. And that's how do you know? Because what was going to happen when the seventh seal was broken? All truth will be revealed and poured to the world, and all the pamphlets of peace and the scrolls will start to be released. All the information about everything that was hidden in the past is now being revealed. And Dr. York started to do that from 1970. And that's why he's able to answer all the questions, because he's not only in the book of Revelations, but he's also, you know, mentioned in the Old Testament in the books of Malachi, because he wrote that book as the being Malachi, Melchizedek, right? Known in different cultures by many names, Marduk, you see. So, yeah, so in chapter 4, verse 2 of the books of Malachi, it tells you that he will bring righteousness with healing in his wings. And you read the books of Revelation, it talks about Michael. You know, it was the book, it was Jesus's book, was sent by John, and it was signified it, Yohanan, okay? And it says, my angel. The word my angel is Malachi. That's what it translates as. Malachi is the same word as Michael, Mikael in Arabic. So that's who was supposed to break the seventh seal and has done so since 1970, because the 70 was to give you 1 hour, which is also referenced as, you know, the hour, right? The first half hour being from 1970, symbolically, obviously, from 1970 to the year 2000. And the second half hour is where we're in now, where we're going from the year 2000 to 2030, which gives you the full hour. No one else has come or is doing that work on the planet right now. All right, so do some more research, some more reading. You'll find out what I'm telling you is actual facts. Help us. If you haven't pressed the like button, please do so. All these little things we ask of you do help us with the algorithm. So remember to like, share, subscribe, and most of all, hit that notification bell so that we can keep you posted with the latest content. All right, let's keep going. Next question. Virgin Islands in the house, Rahubat. Rahubat Moisiar, much ashuk and peace and unity. Free Dr. Malachi ZK York, watching from Florida. 1000%. Simon Stern, 2658. Rahubat Saken and all OSM Vision family. Rahubat. Free Dr. Malachi Z York. That's right. Let's keep ringing that tone continuously. Okay, Amun Green again, 6399. Where does it say the 19th elder opened the seventh seal? Right. Again, you have to know who the 19th elder is, yeah? And that 19th elder, because you're dealing with 19 out of 24. At the beginning, I was mentioning about the 24,000 miles circumference of the planet. And there were many people that came in terms of, talking about what was going to take place. And if you don't study all the scriptures, like for example, Christians will just study the Bible and just stay in that Christian world. But in order to put all the pieces together, you've got to study the youngest first. So that's Islam, right? In terms of it's only 1400 years old. And when you read the Quran, it explains to you, and if you study the Quran, you will know about the seal over the Quran is the number 19. And the only person that was going to be able to come and break that is the 19th elder. So each of the elders is representing one of those 1,000 years of the Bible, the Quran, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who prophesies of the master teacher coming as well, talking about the book of the Lamb. Like the Quran was to travel 24,000 miles around the circumference of the planet, would then complete. And once that's done, that's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, after him, only God himself would come. You see, and he was saying, look out for the person that's going to bring this. He referred to it as New Arabic. But listen, New Arabic, Nuapic. No, and that person was going to bring a new scripture called, and it's going to have this lamb. It's called the Book of Lamb. No one else after the one of Elijah Muhammad has come and presented the Book of Lamb other than Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. You open the book, each chapter starts off low. Yeah, when you look at the low, that's the lamb in Arabic. Yeah. So, and he even has, in fact, let me show you. I just had some, okay, here we go. If you can see that properly, yeah. You see what he's holding in his hand? That's the lamb, that's the representation. When you take that and turn it upside down like that, you see the lamb. And so it's easy for people to say the person is not that person. But then when we ask them to present who he is, and you can't, just like when the master came on the scene, as I said, after the seventh seal was broken, all the information you would ever want to know about was being revealed. So, for example, the Suhuf. And I'm saying this to tie you back, as I said, when you walk backwards from the Quran, then you go to the New Testament, then you go to the Old Testament, then you walk back to the cuneiform tablets, back to the ancient Egyptian or pre-dynastic Egypt, you start to tie everything in. So each elder would come at a specific time. Some of the elders used him as a vessel, as an avatar, or an ilamutajasid, which means an avatar, right? So when you read all the books, you put the pieces together to build a picture of knowing who's who on the planet and when certain things are going to take place. And he's here now, excuse me, to bring about this. I was showing them this just now. Could it be seen clearly? Yeah, I'll just show it again. All right, cool. So, and that was my very first book that I read, by the way. For those who have been following me, they will hear me saying, let me show you the front of it. It was called, ironically, Back to the Beginning, the Book of Names. And yeah, it took me right back to the beginning and everything started to click. So going back to that question, you have to find that answer about the 19th elder. You have to study and know about who the 19th elder is. And that's the being known as Yanun or Michael, Murdoch, Melchizedek. Okay. And they get to a point where I'm saying the reason I mentioned the Holy Tablets is because that book was the completion of all the books prior to that, because it was able to fill in the gaps of all that religion was trying to convey to you by way of the Quran, the New Testament, Old Testament, Torah, etc., etc. It completed and put everything together. And then that was the expiration of religion. And this new Arabic or Nuapic, Miss Batia, was introduced. No one else on the planet has been able to give us back our language to bring in the new 24,000 year cycle. All right, we have a caller.
Right, you back?
Rahubat caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Hey, Ken. My name is David.
Hey,
I'm
Rahubat.
originally from Birmingham. I just want to say thank you for your work.
Thank
I
you.
watch a lot of your content,
Thank you.
and you do make a massive difference. So thank you so much.
No problem. We're only doing our job as student teachers of the master teacher, Panda Babyanun, but appreciate love you for that. Go ahead.
So my question is, I've been reading All Best Secrets or Best Kept Sacred, 720 degrees over 33.
Tua.
And the master was saying that Christianity was a third degree in the ancient Yeshua order,
Yeah.
which is copied by the Freemasons.
Yeah.
Now, the top degree is 33 degrees, but in the modern Freemasonry, they have like additional degrees. So these additional degrees, like, where are they from? And like, how do they differ from the master's original top 33 degrees?
Okay. Firstly, reading that, you should know that certain things can't be discussed like that. But the question you've asked is one that can be answered in the public domain quite easily, because the rest of the degrees are known as honorary degrees. Okay, so what happened is that many people don't realize there are only really 3 degrees, right? Which is the entered apprentice, the fellow craft, and master mason, or EA, FC, and MM. Now, those 3 were what were conveyed to the Europeans, and when they went back, they started to add, and as they do, distort and add things and put their culture and certain things into it, and then started to come up with what the rest of them, which they call honorary degrees. So when you get to, without going into too much detail, when you get to you go in one direction, Scottish rite or the York rites, right? And then you start to see that, yeah, they've just added and made up and exaggerated the 3 to 33. But there is a science behind the 33, because you see a lot of symbology and everything starts to tie in when you look at 33. So, Jesus dying at 33, for example, just to give you an example, and water freezing and at a certain degree, and so without going, but yeah, to answer your question, the rest of the degrees are honorary degrees, so they just added on top, because really we explain all the time that the number 9 is the highest number, so they only received the 3 lesser mysteries. Earlier on I was mentioning about the degrees of Mohammedism, the degree of Christism, and the degree of Mosism. That is the 3 degrees which they got as the lower mysteries or the lesser mysteries. You follow? They didn't get
Okay.
the 9, because the 9, there's obviously another 6, right? They didn't get, and that the reason they got what they got was to help civilize them, and they used that and implemented other things mixed up with it when they came back to Europe, You know, things like the Code of Hammurabi, for example, they mixed that in and they started to put their own practices like skull and bones and all kinds of other things that they incorporated and then created a lot of the honorary degrees. So people that don't really understand the whole craft is they would just say, oh, there's 700 degrees and there's all these kind of degrees. And yeah, they really don't have the secrets. And the secrets were remained or kept sacred. And if you want to know more, the real meaning, that's why we say read the Nuwapian Man Partrak, yeah, or Sabian Man Partrak, because it gives you the guidance to progress to where you need to be as a Nuwapian man. And then you will get the rest of the secrets, which I'm not able to obviously go into.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer.
No
It
problem.
definitely helped me out.
All right.
May
Have
I
you
ask
got the
another one?
Patarak Nuwapian or Sabian man?
I have not actually, but that's the next one I need to purchase.
Tour. Absolutely. All right.
May I ask another question?
Tour. Go ahead.
So, you know the 9 universal laws
Yeah.
of Tahuti,
Yeah.
I incorporated in my life and it really helped me. So back in the New European era, the 9 universal laws, were they only given to like the top initiates
Yeah. I mean,
of the order?
even though we say 9, there is so much more because you're talking about 9 to the 9th power of 9. And have you got the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti?
No, I haven't got that one yet, but I've seen that as a bad boy book, you know.
Yeah, that's your next one. It's available right now. You can get it. But that will answer a lot of. There you go. This is it right here. That will answer a lot of the questions you're asking because when we say 9 and 9 ether being the highest number, we have to remember that there are degrees as well. So that's why we say 9 to the 9th power of 9, which they term as infinity, meaning that
Right.
that's the highest you can get to. And Tahuti being that master scribe, if you study his works, he's got those 9 principles in here, which goes into, you have to get hold of this because it deals with the doctrine of the mental, the doctrine of correspondence, the doctrine of vibration, the doctrine of polarity, the doctrine of rhythm, the doctrine of cause and effect, the doctrine of gender, the doctrine of growth, and 9, the doctrine of breathing. So this is going to take you even higher in terms of your consciousness and putting the pieces together to become that supreme being that a master is here to raise you to be, for those who want to aspire to that.
Right, you got it. Yeah, I mean, especially like the first law, the law of mentalism and the subconscious mind, it really is like crazy. You know, we learn nothing about it in school, or no, you don't really see information about it
Yeah, because
unless
remember,
you discover the master.
this is what I'm saying, that the people that have chosen to keep sacred information or certain information from the masses, they turn those into liberal sciences, but then they only teach you how to become literally a slave and to work for them. So this is why they create this hierarchy of the elite in their world who run the world, from what they refer to as principalities in higher places, and they rule by controlling those who are blind, who have been blinded by the light. See, that's another whole level because the light is used to blind. People stare into the light until they're blind. Light brings about chaos. And the light they use is fire. There's a actual fact called the god of light and fire that we have. All these books I'm quoting, the scrolls I'm giving you, are things you have to really study, because when you start seeing the light, the torchbearer, that's what we're dealing with, yeah? Lucifer, Lucifer. It's a circle which deals with the brotherhood of fire worship. That's why everything is about fire, because they're giving allegiance to these fire children, and the fire children worshipping Lucifer, and they're using that light to blind people. And it goes into a lot of detail in terms of, if you start to read books like the Luciferian Conspiracy, the Leviathan books, Antichrist. This is where it goes in deep in terms of what's going on, how we're in that day and time where Michael, and his angels are going to fight against the dragon, the draconian, with their angels, or their beings that are fighting to keep this world blinded by the light of religion and other methods that they use by way of the Luciferian conspiracy to control the masses. And you've got to wake up from that, and that sleep, that amnesia, that spell, and so that you can actually have your eyes open. That's what the whole thing in the garden was about, the knowledge, the tree of knowledge. Once you ate of it, your eyes were open, or your pineal gland, your third eye was open, so you could see clearly and not be blinded by the light of religion and the Luciferians. And that's what wu-sabat is here to do, to help you wake up, because we're in that day and time for the new cycle of 24,000 years. But so many have been under the spell, to the point where when truth comes, they literally fight to stay in ignorance and to stay under the spell. But if you're about 9 ether and about, breaking the spell, then that's what you need to do. Wu-sabat is that next level. Gives you everything you need. Tua?
Okay, thank you, sir. You have covered quite a lot there, as always.
Yeah, we covered a lot. There's so much. All right, let me answer. We got so many questions to get through, but you're happy with that?
I have one last one if you have time.
Okay, go on. This is definitely the last one.
Okay, so this might be like a future video suggestion.
Okay.
So I was looking at the master's past videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
And when I got into Tahuti and the master and stuff, I didn't really know about this, but I'm originally a gypsy. And the master was saying how gypsy backwards is Egypt. And esoterically, it says the gypsies originate from Egypt.
In the sense of, when you break down the word gypsy, you're dealing with people that were wandering, or because when you look at Egypt today, yeah, the whole word Arab or Arabia, which really goes back to Ishmael being the son of Hagar and Abraham, yeah. Remember that Hagar was an Egyptian. So that word means wanderer. That's where it's relating to, because in terms of, even if you look at how the world has been civilized, it's because of the knowledge spreading out of Egypt to everyone else. So either people came to Egypt and were given this information or knowledge, or beings that went and traveled around the world and shared and gave some of this information. So even the person that a lot of people are calling and referring to as Jesus, he studied in Egypt. Most of the beings studied in Egypt under these mystery schools, where the pyramids were utilized as schools, and they studied a lot of these like alchemy and all the sciences, and then they went around the world and traveled around the world to teach other people. So that's in the sense where you're looking at it like that. But obviously, in more recent times, you started to have other beings like, the Europeans, the Phoenicians, and certain beings that have adopted that, and they became like just nomads, and they started to travel around. But the original concept is coming from Egypt being the cradle where everybody learned from, and then went around the world to teach others. And some that came, they got taught, they went back to their, back to Europe and started to distort and use what they learned to put a system together for their people. And years later on, when we, as those original seeds, were dispersed around the world, this is why when you look at even like the Nation of Islam and certain schools, they were looking for the lost tribe, because the lost tribe ended up being dispersed. Even when you get to like the Islamic stories of after the Prophet Muhammad was unalived, like you had different, like I said, Arabs who took over as the Abu Bakr family as opposed to the rightful Khalifa, which would have been Ali. You see, so now today you got people all over the place, wanderers, and those are lost and so forth. But yeah, that's how it originated in terms of what is being explained in that section you're mentioning. You follow?
Okay. Right. Yeah, it's a lot to take in there.
Yeah. Take it,
But
a step at a time. Go ahead.
yeah, I just want to say, a lot of the modern people, they're quite like hard to deal with. But there's some of us out there that really appreciate your work, and we take it all. I just want to say thank you, and hope you have a good rest of your life.
Thank you. Likewise, and all praise is due to the master teacher, because he has worked relentlessly, tirelessly just to get this out. And unfortunately, that's why he's where he is now. We got to do everything within our power. Like I said, New Year, it's all about freedom for the master teacher and freedom for us and freedom for anyone on the planet who's going to stand up to these negative six ether forces. And let's unite as one on the love and unity, so we can we can get rid of these disagreeable six ether forces once and for all. All right, Tawat.
Inshallah.
Wadu. All right, Naima, thank you so much. I can see you're feeling my pain. You got a recipe for me, yeah? Tablespoon of garlic, tablespoon of ginger, and 2 tablespoons of honey, cayenne pepper, squeeze small amount of lemon juice. Yeah, it sounds like you could make it so well for me, but thank you. I'm definitely going to we're definitely going to try that. Appreciate, love you. Okay, let's keep going. Naima Ma'at, appreciate, love you for that. Another call.
Good evening, this is Marlon calling from London.
Right back.
What is the thing with the 33 Messianic number and this number thing? Do the facts explain anything about this?
That's someone different.
The what?
That's someone different now.
I know, but
I'll play it again.
did you get the name?
What is the thing?
I heard it, but I think he said
Good evening, this is Marlon calling from London.
Okay. I got
What is the
question.
thing with the 33 Messianic number and this number thing? Do the facts explain anything about this?
Yeah, okay. Let me tell you something. If you guys want to think you're going to get the secrets, oh man. But we've broken it down many times before, right? I'm going to try it again. Simply. The reason is 33. The basic symbology is that it's really 9, right? Because when you look at the number 3, the number 3 represents the 3-dimensional world, right? So most people can break it down simply as either solid, liquid, gas, people, places, and things. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, morning, afternoon, evening, breakfast, lunch, supper. We can go on and on and on how you're caught into the three-dimensional world, all right? But for everything that exists, there's a counterpart. So let's say the number 3, you look at the number 3, exists physically, right? So if I drew a 3, that's 1 3. But it has to be an opposite or counter to that 3. That's like saying you have hydrogen as the first atom on the periodic table on one side, but there will be an antimatter or a counter on the other side. So you have matter coming this way, you got antimatter, as Americans say, antimatter going that way. So if the 3 exists, stay with me, there will be another 3, which is its counterpart. Now, when you want to get to the highest, I did a video called 3D to 9D already explaining this, right? Go back and watch that video. If you were to use the mathematical functions on the 2 3s, because you're trying to get to the highest, because it's all about elevating to the highest you can get to. Hence we say 9 or 9 ether, 9 to the 9th power of 9. But to get to 9 from 3, you can put mathematical functions between the seen and the unseen 3, because the 2 3s will only give you 6 even if you were to add them up. So let's use the mathematical functions. If you use 3 divide by 3, you're going to get 1. So you're not getting to 9, yeah? If you use 3 minus 3, I should have done that one first. 3 minus 3, you're going to get back to what? 3. Or 0, shall I say. So you're back to square 1. You're back to 0. So, so I've done that minus, and then I did the plus, which will give you 6. The division, 3 divided by 3, going to give you 1. So the only way you're going to get to the highest is multiplication. This is multiplication means what? To multiply, to get more. So to get more and to get to the highest, because you're pulling upwards, you want to get to the highest in terms of your consciousness, your being, your development, whatever. The only way you're going to get to that is to put a times or multiplication. So 3 times 3 will give you 9. So that gives you the 9 dimensions, the 9 realms, and eventually each one of those 9, because when you go from 1 to 9, there are no more numbers. What happens is after that, when you say 10, 11, 12, you're using compound numbers of the numbers you've already got from 1 to 9. And then it just starts again and a cycle and a cycle and a cycle and a cycle and a cycle. And it gets to the point where it's 9 to the 9th power of 9. So that is it simply. Now, obviously, that's just using the mathematical functions, the basic ones, which is subtraction, addition, division, and multiplication. But there are higher mathematics, which we refer to as supreme mathematics. And that's why when you read some of the scrolls, the master teacher has on them supreme mathematics. Because supreme mathematics starts to take you beyond the 9th ball. I broke down before when we're saying the 9th ball, we're talking about the sun. Because originally everyone was saying there were 9 planets in our solar system. So to go beyond the sun, you're going to go past the sun, our solar system, to go into the, the galaxy, to the universe, and on to the multiverse, to the omniverse. So you're starting to go and learn supreme mathematics, which eventually would take you to what we call the all expanding, or pa'ut in our language. And that is a whole different level of, outformation to information that you got to learn. But the secrets are going to be given to you once you join that order, yeah, that most of your so-called religious prophets or scholars, everybody learned under the great Hierophant, which is Tahuti, Parnabab Yanun. he is that 720 degree being who masters the complete, because the circle 360 degrees represent completion in one side, the seen world, the physical world. Then he has the other 360 degrees, which is a completion again in the what you call the unseen world, or the antimatter, or the point, the etheric side of things. E1, E2, E3, going 9 levels. When you put those two circles together, the physical circle and the spiritual circle put together gives you 720 degrees. You add the 7 plus the 2 plus the 0 gives you 9. This is the supreme mathematics of 9 ether. And when we start to look at 9 ether, it's not just about the melanin. It's not just there's so much more to it. And this is what we're being taught by way of wu-sabat, wu-nuwap. Okay, so I hope that's giving you the answer to what you're looking for. But we keep telling you, come closer, come to the inner circle so that you can be darkened, not enlightened. I actually love that skit you did with us, me and the brother, when I said that to him the first time about being darkened, and he was like, what? Yeah, that's what we're saying. The light blinds you. All right, we've got to answer some of these questions, because if I keep answering you guys' questions, we're not going to get through the chat questions. But that's another reason for you people in the chat to use the number 4 +44 753 996 3882, because it gets you to the front of the queue. All right, let's go back to the chat and see where we were. Gosh, I've lost it's gone right to the top of new questions. But when our master, this is Pharaoh Reye Sananda Rahubat. When our master teacher says we must learn how to split the atom, do we have to do that in order to stop CERN from opening up portals? No, they're already opening up the portals. Splitting the atom is learning what I just touched on, which is dealing with when you split the atom. When we say the atom, the atom would be what they used to call hydrogen being the first, but that has now been split into, you know, as we say before, biaps, quarks, ZDs or ZDs, depending on how, you know, you pronounce it. But and you can keep subdividing. And the thing is that we as 9 ether beings can continuously go to the realms of, as I keep saying, like beyond what they can quantify. So yeah, CERN do split atoms and they can't control or get to certain levels, but they are opening portals and, you know, letting in beings. We're living in a different day and time right now. Okay, let me go back to the question where I was. Oh yeah, gosh, I forgot about our Facebook family. Sorry about that. Wow, look, yeah, we do have a, all right, not too bad. Okay, or tell me how to express my own thanks. Okay, let me just, yeah, let me run through some Facebook, because we're not showing Facebook love. Nadum, as we say sorry in our language. We shall be, okay, cool. Can we say, can any Sabian see true light? My whole body is full of light. Can anyone see me is what I'm trying to find out. A big green orb came to me. Wow. This is what, again, it ties into the question we've got on YouTube as well. You are a light being as an Ethereum. And the master teacher has been teaching us this science of learning to turn ourselves inside out and using that light. We have many lights, not fire. This is where you got the differentiation between the green light and the amber fire, because the beings on the fire side of things, they're destructive. Yeah, so you can, I mean, even just like your aura, what people call the aura, has many lights continuously because your mood changes your aura and the lights that emanate. And yeah, can't always give you all the secrets in that regard, but yeah, some people can see auras and see colors and see what your predominant aura color is. Yeah, and we've got it in the book, Fast Track Your Spiritual and Conscious Journey, where we give you the different, colors. I can run through them quickly. So the red, not necessarily bad, but it's a lower vibration and deals with desires and lust and things like that. So certain, so for example, music is tones, yeah, vibrations and frequencies. And those who study the science of how to affect you vibrationally, is that a word? If it isn't, I've claimed it, right? But your vibration, so they will use certain, like the 808 drum, when you listen to certain music, hip hop especially, that 808 hits right there and it gives you that vibration. And this is why a lot of people will operate on lust, because you're in a club, music's playing, the sounds, and there's probably, substances and people are drinking and, but as you move up the chakra system, you go, even if you look at the colors of the rainbow, which is reflective of all the colors, because when you look at colors, you have the primary colors, right, which is what, red, blue, and yellow, red, yellow, and blue. And in computer it's slightly different because you're using RGB, which is red, green, and blue. But you mix those primary colors to produce all the other colors. And you look at the rainbow, you go from the different colors all the way to the violet. So white is a very kind of like spiritual color, blue spiritual, yellow is intelligence, gray and browns are very negative-ish, moody. Black is not a color because it's the combination of all the colors combined. So yeah, in terms of your light being, that's why we say eat healthy electric foods that are alkaline as opposed to the acidic one, so you can enhance your light. And your heart seat is that one that deals with that vibration of love. Talk about the green light, it's a glitch because it's a mixture of the yellow and blue. Yeah, so yeah, light's a very, very important thing because light can be transferred to sound and vice versa. Tuning in from Oklahoma, USA. So thankful for the opportunity to grow. That's from Kim. As someone raised as a conservative Christian, it's been very scary to step out of that programming. I'm looking for, yeah, that's what I was saying at the beginning, that make this your New Year's resolution. Don't be afraid, because fear is one of those things that keeps someone thinking, I can't move forward, I can't let go, I've got to please other people, where's everyone going to think about me? Oh, am I going to be the black sheep? Again, using that word in a very negative connotation, but you get what I'm saying. It's like people feel like if the whole congregation looks at you like, they're going to look at you like you're the bad apple, or they always try and turn it on you, because in order for you to escape, the majority is not always right, you see. So, but these are all the tricks that keep you captive in accepting and believing something for years, and you're afraid to make the change. But don't be afraid, because it only gets better. Okay, any more questions on Facebook? Hello, brother. Are you part of the Masonry order? Come closer and we'll get to fellowship. Part of the original Egyptian Masonic order, the original. Okay, if that's something you want to learn more about, go to Noir official website, United Nuwaubian Sabians Worldwide.com, and click on that that page that says OEMO. Growing up, if I was afraid or unsure of how to proceed on life, I would first talk to my daddy. Pray my daddy well not to be with me much longer, and I feel it no longer now how to pray. Yeah, we give you all the information and explain to you, like, there's always a distortion. This is for you, Kim. There's always a Kim Sullivan. There's always a duality, and the technology comes in with mixing the two to confuse people. So pray, Pray, and then you have Prey, which is, you are the prey. But we have to give you the science behind that in terms of not being on the menu to become food for these extraterrestrials, flesh-eating beings. So you're not preyed on by way of religion. Good. The course link is posted. Judgment, son of Othman, judgment has come. I am sending you all to the lake of fire. Literally speaking. That sounds so funny. This is a religious mindset. Listen, there's no lake of fire. We've been from the top of the planet all the way through it and come out of the other side. There's no lake of fire. That's just religious. We can break it down because you're dealing with desires and burning the fire within you in terms of the desires and the things that you've been you've got yourself trapped in. All right, I'm going to skip that. No one be afraid of that. There's no lake of fire. Now watch me send you to the lake of fire. Judgment has come. Judgment has come, but it's come upon the Adamites. All right, so none of that spell bounding stuff's going to work. All right, let's move on to someone who really wants to know the truth. I've also read the Bible and the book of Revelation, as I said. All right, let's keep moving to real questions. Okay, here we go. Brent Reynolds, I have a legit question, and the only reason I'm asking is because my story is real. Came to me April 8th, 2020. Okay. Now I'm white, but I know my ancestors were not. Now, I'm not saying skin color matters to an extent. Now, my question is, what's your views on this? Yeah, we know that ultimately these are skin suits, and it is possible because the masters taught us about different extraterrestrials being able to and again, it's about the DNA and the genetics, so it's not always based on the looks, because people can judge people based on the looks, but it's really about the actions of your actions, your intentions, and what you actually do. It's not what you say or what you look like, because looks can be deceiving. Okay, people are having a lot of conversations, so let me see if there's any. Ask your question. Okay, someone was trying to call. The colors can be understood by, I think that's meant to be vibration state. So to know your vibrations, yeah, that's right. Okay, I've covered most. All right, the last one is, when I tell them that religion is mental slavery, they said I'm crazy. They would say you're crazy because you're breaking away from the spell. And you only have to just use your mind and you can decipher. I mean, just watch all the videos on OSM Vision and all the videos that Nuwapians around the world are putting out to debunk religion. And yeah, your mind is what you use to make decisions. So think for yourself. Okay, let's go back to the YouTube. Usia, hold on, have I skipped something? Is this a Nuwapian or Sabian movement? I mean, it's not a movement, but I know, you know, why, you know, you can use that term, but we are a culture, we are living, and we have our way, Patarak, or the way that we live by. But to learn more, listen to the videos and watch the videos on OSM Vision. Go to our official worldwide website. Get to learn and know more about who we are so that you're not hearing Chinese whispers or being influenced by anybody else. All right, let's keep going. I know he never... Okay. That's a conversation. Nawabian or Sabian?
Check. There's a good Facebook one.
Yeah. All right, let's have a look. Facebook.
It's asking about women in the organisation. It's one of the latest comments.
The latest one I've got.
The Bible I've read.
Oh, the Bible I've read is a plagiarized story from Anunnaki green tablets. You're right, correct? Your view also, do women have a place in your... Absolutely. This is the cycle for the sacred feminine. Straight away, the scroll I will refer you to is the lotus, the lotus for the sacred feminine by Parnababianun, is God male or female. That's another one, actual fact. Yeah, it's the female's time to rule. And this is what everybody has been afraid of for years, especially man-made religions, to suppress the woman, because the secret that they all kept was that the woman is the true goddess on the planet, because as much as they lied to you in the biblical books of religion that man comes or woman comes from man, it's actually the other way around. Factually, everybody on the planet comes from a woman, scientifically. You know, when you start to go into the chromosomes and looking at it, XX and XY. So this was the lie that was kept secret because they didn't want the woman to come back into her rightful place. But unfortunately, for the patriarch systems, that has to go, because we're in a new cycle. And men that were afraid of women try to suppress women. But you shouldn't be afraid of your creator, the nurturer, and the one that basically gave you life. So we as Nuapians, we work hand in hand, left brain, right brain, two hands together to work together so that we can be at our fullest potential. So we're not saying that the woman should suppress the man, because the men fear that because that was done to the women, they may do the same to them. But that's not, women are much more intelligent than that. The women use far more of their brain. They have a much better vocabulary because they learn to speak first. And yeah, it's now about working together and letting the woman use her potential. So yeah, we're definitely, I mean, check out our website and check out, you know, we have a number of sisters that are very powerful, and they're going to be more and more coming to the forefront. So yeah, definitely, yeah, women have a place in our, in fact, they have a higher place in our organization. Even though it may not seem so at the moment, because you seem to see the brothers up front teaching, but the women are also teachers. They do everything basically that we do. So yes, 100%. I have learned so much from you, OSM. Have read the book, The Mind. How do I pray or talk with my higher self? Yahya, sorry, Karatu. Make sure you're in the OSM Telegram group, because A lot of the questions that are being asked have already been asked in the Telegram group, and we've already answered the same questions over and over again with references and books and, you know, excerpts and videos and links and all kinds of information to really solidify the answer for you. So yeah, make sure that you join our because you're asking how do you pray and things like that. You know, we have all that information already. We don't really we communicate with our elders, our ancestors, and our overseers. Yeah, so we will give it a correct way of doing that. You can learn, Anthony, you said, can I learn from within and not from books? Yes, you can. Only up until a certain point. You can learn from within. Like, that's why we say you're, you know, in the standing, or like start from yourself. Get to learn and know about yourself. But the thing is, when we start to put our ego, you know, in front, that's what happens, where we start to think that we can do it all by ourselves, or we don't need anybody else. But everyone needs and can learn from others, and collectively we're more powerful. Also, this is a time where a being has been sent down here, yeah, to help you remember who, you know, because it's in your DNA, but your DNA needs to be activated by certain tones, vibrations, and affirmation, which you don't have. And that's why when we talked about the opening of the seventh seal, this being has been literally chosen, prepared, and designed by the forces of nature, you know, to come and help humanity and help us move towards our growth in terms of, you know, we've got to evolve to higher conscious beings. So, you know, like a baby, when you're a baby, you're growing physically and you're evolving and learning more. But as humans on the planet, our inner being, our conscious being has been growing, but now it's like there's a shift taking place where it's actually now coming forth, because we're in that day and time where you have to be raised to a higher conscious level to make the dimensional shift, to make the shift that the planet itself has to shift to grow. And that then ties into our solar system and our universe. So most people don't really take the time to study that the planet is alive. The whole solar system is alive. The universe is alive. And they grow as well. Galaxies go through a birthing process, and then they grow as well and evolve. So does the universe. I did a video already on TikTok that I explained, you know, that whole, like, the Big Bang and prior to that and how we came about. So what I'm saying is that as these bodies are evolving and growing, we have, our consciousness has to grow as well, so that we move from a galaxy that is classified. Let me see if I can, I'll quickly find it for you, what I'm talking about. Not the video, but you're gonna have to go on TikTok to find that. But what I'm talking about in terms of the galaxies. Here we go. Good old Google. I'm just typing in the ages of galaxies. I'm not sure what's going to come up, but you know, if you just Google the age of galaxy, there we go, galaxy, and the ages of galaxies, I'll put galaxies, let me go back, and how they evolve, yeah? There's so much you can study and learn from using the tools available to us. Not saying Google knows everything, but now you're dealing with AI. All right, here we go. Okay, so yeah, there you go. Galaxies have ages up to the age of the universe, approximately 13 billion years, but individual galaxies formation and evolution vary. The age of a galaxy is often determined by the age of its stars. Blue galaxies are generally younger and actively forming stars, while red galaxies are older, with the star formation having largely ceased. Right here, this is what I wanted to get to, right? They're called populations. So astronomers use several methods to estimate the age of a galaxy or its stellar populations. Color and stellar populations. The overall color of a galaxy is a key indicator. The presence of bright, hot, short-lived, you know what I mean? You can go and read all of that. There's a lot, but they are actually classified by their population in terms of their age, you see. So these are things that when you do some study, you realize that because they're evolving and growing and changing, we also evolve and change with that, so that we can become a part of the galactic community. So there are different galaxies and different beings from different galaxies, and they all sit in like a united nation, but we call it the Galactic Federation. So you hear people starting to talk and leak information about different beings that are from, they're representing different galaxies, and they come together in the Galactic Federation. We have a book called the Akasha Records by the Master Teacher, Panabab Yanun, that goes into details, because he, as the 19th elder, Yanun, represents, you know, and comes from the planet Risk and represents Ilion, you see? And he goes to these Galactic Federation meetings in Mount Chester, a lot of aerial, for what they call it, UAPs and UFOs. People go out there and camp. Don't believe us, check it out. Like, they go and camp because a lot of extraterrestrial activity goes on around there, you see. So there are things happening on this planet to move us from this lower level vibrational thinking of the things we do on the planet, like to deal with the 9 mental diseases. That's fear, you know, all these things that hold humanity back. And there are entities and beings that are trying to help us evolve so we can become a part of the Galactic Federation and being able to learn and know how to travel to different galaxies. The technology, etc., we need to be able to do this, you know, at the moment is being stifled, and we're still using a lot of primitive technology and destroying the planet with fossil fuels and all this kind of thing. So you kind of asked a great question. Anthony, it was the most ecstasy feeling I've ever felt and brought me to my knees. Goose. Yeah, when you have those interactions with certain beings that are vibrating on such, I know exactly what you're talking about because I've experienced that too. When you are in the presence of such beings, like the 19th elder, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York Pandabab Yanun, you feel, and you're heightened in terms of your higher senses, and when you get to feel that vibration of a being so powerful, you can't put it into words. You know, that's why we say experience is one of the best teachers. And once you've experienced something and you know something for a fact, nobody can tell you different, you know, so you can't come back down to that low level vibration in terms of religions, etc. All right, let's get back to the questions on. Thank you all for your questions. They're great questions. Glad we're now tuning in on Facebook at the same time. You guys have been missing out. Okay, let's keep going.
How do you say thank you?
Thank you. All right, so in Miss Batia, if you're saying thank you to a male, you use the word tak at the end, so tawu tat. And if it was a female, it would be tat, tawu tat. If you want to say thanks, it's tawu hat, tawu at, thanks, all right? Oh, we got our language as well. That's what we're saying about learning that language, because it helps you to use tones and vibrate higher and to be protected by the thoughts and the, you know, the many frequencies that are being sent to keep you subdued and subjugated all the time by constantly worrying and thinking about negative thoughts. And yeah, so the language is key. Why have I got this? Sorry, I don't know if that's meant to be frozen like that. Someone just said, I just saw it, I'm absorbing and enjoying your truth. Lisa, I will check your website. That's it. You got to do your own due diligence. Never believe or take anything someone just says to you. Go and ask questions, search, research, check things out, so that when you make a decision, you're making an informed decision based on yourself, not because someone else not because someone else has, you know, got you to believe them. That's what religion does. Believe me, don't check it out for yourself. Let's keep going. That was for you, Lisa. Good. Let's keep going. Sorry, I'm new here. That's all right. New is great because it means we're reaching new souls, and that's what it's about. Jiga, I want money. Help me, please. You see, I don't know if you're being serious or joking, but I'm going to address it because, you know, we actually deal with people say, I want money, but you don't want money. You want the knowledge, because once you have the knowledge to get money, then you can get money. No one is just going to hand you money. Like people like to chase money. You can't chase money because it doesn't exist. Can't run after money, can you? So what we're saying is, like, what profits a man to gain the whole world but to lose their soul? You see, like, knowledge is power, because knowledge can allow you to utilize that power to get and do anything you want. So you have to think correctly and not just want things, you know, like, okay, you want it, but how do you go about getting it? Yeah, so you have to learn how to utilize your power to get whatever you want by manifestation. You see, so if you're being serious, there are ways. We cover that in our book too. It's about manifestation and attracting by vibrating on the right frequency to attract what you need to come to you, because everything is equal distance from you, and all you have to do is tune into the right thing and pull it to yourself. You see? Yeah, so it may sound, I don't know if you're being silly or joking, but you can have and get anything you want by knowing how. All right, let's go back to the YouTube questions. Time always goes so quickly. All right, let me answer some of these. Ask the Nuwapians in London, did the real Malachi come there years ago to let them know what time it was, and did they see the proof? I don't know what time it was. I don't know what that means. Heru Hotel was... All right, you see, you're going into stuff that, you know what I mean? Some of it's personal, so I'm not going to go into it. When you say... if you have questions, ask the question. A reverend and a doctor named York open. What's the actual question? Because you can have many titles. Anyone can have many titles. It's not about the titles. It's about the works that prove and show who you are. So, you know, I don't want to talk about, you're spelling his name wrong. It's not Heru Hotel or Haru Hotep who you're trying to speak about. But anyway, you said I asked any questions. 76 trillion years of knowledge and he couldn't beat a court case. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to be disrespectful, rude, and arrogant, we will just not address you. But if you want to ask a serious question, then ask the question. You say about the court case as if it's over. Yeah, it's not over. So what are you going to say when he does beat the case? This I'm saying, the case is still ongoing. So that doesn't make sense. I mean, we will answer and address your question, but have some, you know what I mean, have some respect and come correct, or else we will just not deal with you, because we don't run away from questions. And you're talking about things from years ago. We're in the here and now. And we have classes every week. And we are here to defend the innocence of Dr. York, because we know he is innocent. How did Dr. York know so much about the devil, even down to a conversation with him? Again, where are you coming from? Where's the reference? Like, what devil? Like, give us. You know what? I'm gonna read a few more to see if you've actually got a real question. This is for Emmanuel Kitcher 8736. Please, Emmanuel Kitcher. I do dream and see myself sleeping in the dream and dreaming. I really want to know myself, and sometimes I do dream and knows in the dream that I am asleep. Okay, there's a quick. No, that's not. Sorry, I'm mixing Emmanuel up. Sorry. The person that is I'm referring to is Amun Green 6399. So Nadum, sorry Emmanuel, for it's not you. You're asking a decent question. Yeah, because let me answer your question. Dreams, what you call dreams, depending on what type of dream it is, because there are different types of dreams, are your other being, because you have several beings in one. When your physical being is at rest, you can travel to different dimensions or different realms and experience things with your oversoul or your other being, your etheric counterpart. So this is something that you can learn more about. Milady B38, love you, Saken, love you too. Ashok, thanks to you for sharing all the knowledge and information of the master teacher. That's the passion, that's the Ashok we have for the master teacher. These people that, you know, come, it's ego. Like, if you want to learn, look, we ain't here to debate, or the actions and our work speaks for themselves, because, you know, yeah, these are just generally religious people that are trying to hold on to religion, and, you know, religion is not working for them. So all right, Moon Green, if you really want to learn, yeah, I'm not gonna entertain you. When you're ready to learn and ready to really kind of like come correct with subduing that ego, we will definitely answer your question. You're talking about things you do not know, and like I said, if you really want to know and ask proper questions, we will address them. And I can see it's just a debating. Pharaoh, there's no need. We don't need to debate. I mean, you don't have to accept and listen to anything we say. Go and do and follow whoever you want to. But those who know the frequency and want to really learn and are learning, I mean, we can debunk and like, what are you representing? You got a name, Amun, so you are actually tying into Kemet or Egypt in some way. We don't want to disrespect you either, so, you know, let me not feed that force. Let's move on to people that have real questions. If you really want to learn, I don't know where you're based. We're in London. We have classes every week. You can come to class, and, you know, we'll answer your question. Right, let's go to Naima Ma'at. Question: who ruled the world before the 6 ether extraterrestrial beings who have ruled during the last 6,000 year cycle? Great question. When you say the world, do you mean this planet? Because you have, when we say the world, sometimes people forget that we live in a multiverse, omniverse with many, many different worlds that have come and gone. And certain extraterrestrials ruled certain galaxies and so forth. Galaxies and star systems die, you know, like their suns explode, and then sometimes the beings on there, they have to find refuge and go somewhere else. Some disagreeable beings, like Tarnush, whom Baba, he's known by many names, right? The father of Halal, he was one of those beings, and he took refuge, and he was trying to control, he was already controlling many star systems. So he obviously was trying to, he was given refuge on planet Risk, and then after a while he tried to take over, and then he was cast out or banished. And the beings, this is where the religious books pick up certain stories, and they were basically banished, and that's why they came here. But our ancestors, the Parnatharu, were the original rulers of the planet. I mentioned earlier on about the planet was a green zone, and it was peaceful, and there were, and you can find more information about this in the actual fact, existence, how and why. So when we say who ruled the planet, well, you didn't say planet, you said the world, and I'm trying to clarify that we have to define what we're calling the world. But our ancestors ruled. See, nine ether is always in rulership, but it's just that during the last 6,000 years, a lot of beings, nine ether beings, were put to sleep by a spell that was actually cast on them. It's kind of like, to make it simple, like the seasons, yeah? You got summer and you got winter. Originally it was only 2 seasons, but then the spring and autumn got added in there. And that reflects the cycles, the 24,000, year cycles, where you have a moon cycle and a sun cycle. So 9 is there, but like during summer, a lot of melanated beings, because they prefer to be in the sun, during the winter they hibernate. They're kind of like, you don't really see anyone because people don't like the cold. So it's not that 9 ether didn't exist, it still did, but during that hibernation period, or what we call the winter period, or the moon cycle, 6 ether forces, they love that, because it's like, you ever seen like in winter where some people that they're walking around with shorts and t-shirts, and you're thinking, how? Like, some people like that, they want to go skiing, they like that cold climate because it's more conducive for their particular skin type, you see. So beings that moved to the mountains or moved to Europe were beings that were lacking melanin from the sons of Canaan, you see. So yeah, the rulership in terms of during the last 6,000 year cycle, which was the moon cycle, was predominantly 6 ether forces, and that's why Leviathan, and they were able to, you know, implement certain things. And then coming out of that now, a lot of 9 ether beings forgot who they were. It's called the spell of amnesia, or Kingu, Leviathan, depending on which culture or which historical viewpoint you're looking at. That is what happened, to the point where people were kidnapped and brought to a foreign country, stripped off of their culture, their language, their name, you know, the Roots movie. Not everyone, because there were people that were not kidnapped and brought here. Some of them were here already because of different continental drifts and stuff like that. So I trust that helped, Naima. Let's go to your next question. Where did these 6 ether beings come from who have ruled for the past 6,000 years? They were grafted. This is the story in the Bible when they're saying Adam was created, but that was a graftation by extraterrestrial beings that came from Arcturus. and these Pleiadian beings, they grafted a being called they were referred to as the Adamites 6,000 years ago. Yeah, so are they descendants of reptilians and greys, etc.? Yes, so what happened is the story goes back a bit before that, where you had, remember when I was saying Tarnush and these beings, right? You had draconian beings or different species of extraterrestrials, reptilians, that they were eating the Pleiadians, which is a different species of blonde hair, blue eyed beings. They're known as the Ashtar Command. These were the ones that were in touch with, say, Hitler, why he went about trying to create what he called the Aryan race or the supreme being. All right, so they were eating the draconians, which is reptilians, were eating these Pleiadians, and they begged him and said, if we create a new food source for you, which is going to taste better than us, would you leave us alone? And they agreed. So that's how they went about grafting a hybrid called Adamites. And this is why in the biblical story, they turned that into one being called Adam. But as you know, there were people on the planet before that whole Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel story, because you know that Cain was afraid that beings were going to kill him, or like people ask, where did they get their wives from to continue? Yes, because you had these fallen angels that people refer to as the 200 fallen angels, these Anakim, these beings were already on the planet. So, and before that, we as the Pataites were also already on the planet. So the a lot of the reptilians were abducting the greys. The greys were working for the Natharu, who came here originally to scout and make sure that life forms could survive on this planet. So you've asked a great question, and that's why when you come to our classes, sometimes because of time or because we can only give you so much, we keep building on that. So when different people ask the same question to different student teachers, they may get another piece of the puzzle. And so there's a lot more. So you can always keep asking a question until you're completely satisfied with the answer. Because you might ask me the same question another day, and I'll pull some more information from the archives. I have to access those files and get that information out. And I might remember another part, So when you hear people say, oh, he's saying something different from the other person. No, when we come together collectively and put it together, you see that it all aligns and makes sense. Naima Ma'at again. I am excited to get all the actual facts, Partaraks, Master Secrets and Scrolls, where all of our questions will be answered. We must study for ourselves. 100%. That's what we keep saying, that you have the power. You are the god and goddesses, and you have the ability to discern for yourself. Because once you do, no one can bamboozle and fool you anymore, because you just deal with facts and actual, right knowledge. How can one see the color? This is from Maria M6. How can one see the color of their aura? Is there a simple gadget one can use to see it? If there is a gadget, can it be homemade? Yes, I mean, you can this. There's always artificial ways or artificial intelligence, but you got the natural way. You can actually develop yourself as well to a very higher spiritual level, and you can actually start to see interdimensionally. This is what we talk about when we speak about your 4 higher senses that they leave out, which is psychometry, intuition, clairvoyance, and telepathy. Yeah, so you can, but yeah, there is something called curling photography, which is a type of photography. It's developed a lot now, but this was one of the older ways of taking a picture that can pick up the vibrations and the frequencies of that you're giving off. And so there is something known as curling photography. Research that, and there are other methods now because it has evolved since then. So yeah, search curling photography and then see what has evolved from that. Naima again. Okay, someone is, you're referring to someone. Yeah, the best thing I can say to any of you that's really interested is to read the scrolls, study the scrolls, and learn for yourself. We've got 5 minutes left, so let me run through the last few questions. As a woman, I would not want to rule above a man. Yeah, that's what we're saying. We're not saying that. We're saying work together. If you look in ancient Egypt, the pharaohs always had their female counterparts, and they ruled together equally. You know, a man does have, because he's got more in terms of testosterone and whatever, you know, he's physically able to do things that, well, men and women can do the same things, but there are certain things that men do better than women, and there are certain things that women do better than men. But it's about working together, all right? So you're right, again, Naima, in your thinking. Can we define a divine being? We can. We have a hierarchy. When you look at the word being, you got supreme being, human, man, mammal, you know, all the way down to like beast, demon, a kind of man. We say mankind. Yeah, so we can, but divine is really not saying, well, in this dimension anyway, it's not saying you are without mistakes or faults, because it's more about the balance, okay? Because when people think divine, it becomes a religious kind of like, people think about it in a religious connotation, and it's false, because no one is good all the time or no one is bad all the time. It's about that balance. Balance is the, even if you look at the chart of acidic to alkaline, there's a balanced pH value, which is water, right? So it's always about having that balance, so that you know when to use either side when it's necessary, but maintaining that middle ground at all times. Can we have a video on the 5% problem book? Because I was part of the 5% nation of the gods and earths, and I still consider them family. We are all family. There's only a family of truth and a family of lies, if you really break it down. And you have to choose which side you want to be on, the lies or the belief, because belief, belie, Eve, or belief, it's got the word lie right in the middle of it. Or do you want to graduate from beliefs to knowing, which is about knowledge, you see? So the master teacher set the record straight on everyone. So yeah, we're looking to doing a video to deal with, as I said before, putting religion to sleep, so you guys can graduate to wu-sabat, and we can start dealing with asking questions that the master teacher can raise us even higher in degrees. Clarity, detail, depth, confirmation, and synchronicity come when we research, read, learn from teachers. What we discover exactly, we each one teach one. You know, we all learn, and together we grow. Oh, that's such an excellent question. It's probably going to be my last couple. Ayorevilo, sorry, I can't pronounce your name, 2649. How can someone heal their heart chakra after being constantly siphoned by energy vampires to the point of them feeling numb or lacking? That's such a great question. So you need to change your environment, and this is where finding the right partner, because when you become one, you share organs, you share your hearts, you recharge each other. I'm giving you the quick answer because we've come to the last of the minutes we have, but becoming one with someone, and it's not easy because that's why you have to find and be with the right person, because they recharge you and you recharge them and you work together. This is why it says that, you know, a man, or, you know, they cleave together, they leave, and the woman leaves and cleaves with the man, or whatever way the Bible puts it. But yeah, because when you're around the right people and the right energy, they will recharge you, and you can get those chambers of your heart reactivated. But you're right, it can get to that point where you're drained. That's why you have to be around the right types of people so that you guys can heal each other and become wholesome as one. Okay, Zamal Saken has mentioned before that we should always be analyzing our internal and external environment, but that's right. Personally, it is vital to distance self from, yeah, you're just helping, yeah, that's great. Okay, I'm gonna go right to the end. What cats visit your house randomly? What does that mean? Grace, unfortunately, you're gonna have to take those questions to the Telegram group or to the next class, which will be on Saturday. If not, come back here next week, same time, same place. Rahul Basakan, I was wondering if you can tell us about the soulmate. Yeah, that I touched on it just now, but the soulmate part of that is very important. That's what we were just saying, that with the soulmate, you can help and recharge each other and become one. All right. But yeah, get the part of that soulmate and actually read it. Did we not do, if we haven't done a video on it, we might do a video on that actually. So yeah, thank you for all your questions, for being here, for your presence, and for staying with us throughout the entire year. And we look forward to bringing you more information and so much more next year. Remember to keep studying, learning, researching, supporting us, subscribe, share the videos. We read all the comments. I love reading the comments and hearing what people are saying and thinking. Study the language. We've got the language course, and become a part of the family. And most of all, do everything you can to help us bring Pana Babylon home. All right. So see you in 2026. Have a great one. And our new year really starts June 26th. But, you know, we are still cool up in the Gregorian. So as much as we try to live without it until we get to that space, yeah, do your best within what we have. All right. So Wadu Moisar, until next time, take and give care. Wadu.